simply put, just to examine what happened during the COVID pandemic and also what will happen after it. What are the longer term impacts on solid waste management? Our idea is that crisis moments, they change something, they change practices, and they might also change policies in the longer run.
There has been a big increase in especially biomedical waste and including protective equipment. There's also a big impact we see in terms of stigmatizing waste workers, as they are really directly and bodily in touch with the matter, that people stigmatize them as being like vectors for further infections. And as in South Asia, there intersections between caste, gender, and other categories are quite stark. Probably it has also increased the stigmatization of being kind of unpure. And as the mobility throughout South Asia was very limited, probably it also had a very important impact on livelihood possibilities, especially for the poor.
Yeah, my children always laugh and tease me. Their father is a garbage researcher and they wonder why the taxpayers should pay for that. However, it's actually quite serious. Waste is reflective of power relations, of politics in a given society. What type of population is exposed to the waste and what populations are protected. And that's why lots of social scientists like me are quite passionate about waste. Yes, most studies on waste management are done by engineers and are of very technical nature. I always have to hold back and say, well, yes, on paper and in your lab and with your trials, this might work very well. However, in a different cultural, social and political context, particular solutions might not work at all.
Basically, what you do is to walk along a certain path, so that's why the transect, and you observe and talk with local communities and really experience what that territory and that particular object does to people and the landscape. Basically, we follow or trace back, for example, waste, and really trying to understand its metabolism and its significance for the different stakeholders.
Now, most of the field work will be carried out by our local research partners. They know the customs, they know their the key informants and so on and so forth. They know also by now a number of waste workers. However, that will also be complemented by research by a PhD student who will be recruited in Switzerland. When one comes from the outside, one is often very naive and asks the very stupid questions. However, these stupid questions are often very important questions, because when one is in a particular context, one does not really realize some absurdities sometimes that are going on.
Even though we always speak north-south, there are so many dimensions that can be reflected together or in contrast, and many lessons that can be learned from urbanization in South Asia in terms of governance, informality, and how it reconfigures really the urban space. And of course, southern cities, they are famous for what is called a frugal innovation, really this kind of adaptation to new places with the resources that are available. And with the increasingly urbanizing world and with the increasingly mobile world, I think these are aspects that places all over the world can look into.
For young researchers, I think it is very important to connect to other young researchers, particularly of the region. Everybody is on social media, so there's lots of things that people can connect with that are not that different between the global north and the global south. I mean, even these categories don't actually make much sense anymore in a globalized world.
So as this research is really field-based and requires access to the field in many different ways, to people, to territories, to political institutions and governance institutions, really negotiating access in the local situation of curfews or lockdowns or limited mobility is going to be a challenge. And of course, adaptability is like the greatest imperative now for researchers at this time.